Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. Hope the holidays are treating everybody very well. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Bitcoin. I'm going to zoom out a little tiny bit, then start zooming in to kind of discuss my thought process here on what I'm looking at. But we're going to focus everything around Elliott wave. So let's go ahead and jump right into it here. There's basically two ideas that I'm following on the higher time frame. It's a moderate approach and then an aggressive approach. The moderate approach is essentially stating that we have one more high for a wave 5, then we'll have a considerable retrace, about 30 to 50% from all-time high. So potentially from 120 right back down to 65 or so. This is our moderate approach. From an aggressive perspective, we can look at things a little bit differently based off of timing of completions and swing formations. So this first correction for our primary wave 2 is a flat, and this correction for our intermediate wave 2 was also a flat, but the key thing here is that this one was less in time and that this one was larger in time. So given the perspective again of the timing of completions, we can say that this is valid. The only thing we have to expect is that once this 5-wave move is done here, either it's a 1 or it's a wave 5 of the intermediate degree. So this basically means that the overlying trend is the same. We still have a impulse here to complete, either for a 1 or a 5. Then afterwards, we get a correction, either a minor correction that's less in time than the prior correction, or we get that primary correction that I was talking about, the 30 to 50% drop from all-time high. So this correction here to come is really going to provide a higher time frame narrative if we are in a 1-2-1-2 or if we're just in a regular impulse. Now, on the medium term time frame here, we still are completing our impulse structure again for a 1 or a 5, but it's really dependent upon if we've completed the higher degree wave 4 or we have yet to complete it. So there's no clear confirmation as of yet. All I can say is that I don't believe this wave 5 is in yet. That's the thing, is I do expect one more significant high before a minor correction or a primary correction. So just managing expectations here. Again, from a time perspective, we expect this correction or this impulse of the intermediate degree to be completed sometime at the end of January into the beginning of March. That's what we're looking for. Because typically this is the average time of completion. So again, we're looking for pretty much right in the middle of January, even potentially to the end of April or March. But again, we're looking for this sweet spot right here. From a strength perspective, we're looking at extended wave 5 targets. Because it's already gone past the regular wave 5 targets, the next thing to do is look for a extended wave 5. So really we're going to look for this zone to hit, that's our primary expectation. After this, it's all about managing swing formations on a lower time frame, looking for that reversal. So basically, 2 counts, right? But they're all leading up to this area. Once we get this area, it's about managing expectations for the correction to come. Let's kind of zoom in just a little bit here. There's 2 perspectives that I'm really looking at on the medium term time frame. Let me zoom into the 4-hour. So it really depends on where you're placing the ending of this wave 4. That's the key thing here. This is all been agreed upon. Everyone's agreeing on these being the significant swing points for the 1 and 2. Same with this. Afterwards, swing formations get greater, so it's difficult to discern in lower time frames when this 3 is actually in or if it's not in yet. The other perspective is stating that this 3 is already in and the 4 is already in as well. And we are working on this wave 5. This is forced, in my opinion, here. I do not think this pivot right here is our completed wave 4. It could be a pivot for a wave A, where we come up for a B, and then we range in a triangle. That I could see for potential wave 4. But again, I don't think that this will be completed here. So just going in a little bit more into my thought process here, let's discuss this count, and then we'll discuss the next count. So let me zoom in just a little bit more here. My primary expectation is that we're going to attack this low, but we need to attack this high first. So I do think this minor wave 3 right here, the minor degree wave 3 is completed. However, I do not think this minor degree wave 4 is completed. Now this is building up to the count that we were looking at the past 2 weeks. The last time we were looking at this, we were right here. We were looking for a W, X, Y for a wave 2. And then we were looking for a move up for a wave 3. Now, this completed a lot more quicker than I expected. I actually did expect us to dig somewhere into the 115 zone, but we got what we expected. We took this high for a wave 3, then we took this low to start a wave A. So everything's moving along according to plan. The only thing now is to manage our expectations. So if I'm looking at this structure, I really don't think this is completed because we have a impulse for an A. Now we need a companion C leg. We've also front run the traditional wave 4 targets right here, which is also, to me, a signification that potentially we are still going to drop lower. But I'm still looking for a corrective 3-wave retrace before heading down. We did have a smaller retrace here in the lower time frame, but considering this structure, it's a little too short in time and strength to consider it completed. And this is where WXYs are formed, because it's too short in strength and it's too short in time for the structure that it's correcting. So I'm expecting a WXY or B wave, and then again a move down. primary expectations. Now, this may complete a little more quickly than we expected. It could be just half of the minor wave 2 that we experienced. Or something else could occur. This could be a W, X, Y, or an A of a flat. Then we get a B, and then we get a C. Then we get our move down, which would pretty much bring us one-to-one timing with the minor correction. This is the only way that we could pretty much expect this correction to fold on further, is if we have an internal B flat, and this B wave is not done yet, and we have to move it up, which could happen. So for now, moderately looking at this, we have to look at it from this perspective until things are changed. The only way I could see this structure being valid is if we take this low and we are accepted right back into the range immediately, just like that, without continuation to the downside. If there is no continuation for a wave 3, and again we're accepted right back into the range, to me that's very likely that we're in a potential B flat, and we have to move this B wave up here. Target-wise, I'm really looking for this weekly fair value gap, and really just looking for it to hit this zone, the 236, 272 zone. After that, it's all about managing expectations on swing formations to look for this reversal here. So this is my primary expectation. My secondary expectation is something that we kind of alluded to in the beginning, where this could be a triangle. The narrative behind this is that we have our cascading wave 4s, where when we look at an impulse structure, we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, move up, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. Where these wave 4s are all protected until we have that final 5th wave. Then we start attacking these lows. That's the idea here. Here's our primary minuet wave 4, been protected. Here's our prior minute wave 4, it was protected. For now, at least. Again, this is the only way I could see this forming, this triangle, and it makes sense with the narrative when we have cascading prior wave 4s. There is some directional confluence, because regardless, again, we expect this high to be taken. This is the primary objective. Maybe even attack this high. But for now, we expect this low to be protected until we have a clear 3-wave structure that corrects this expansion. So we have this for a B of a triangle or a B of a zigzag. Also, this would push us into the timing of completion around half of the wave 2 of the minor degree as well. Typically, wave 4s, we like to see equal 1-to-1 timing or half. Anything beyond that, the probability of the structure that you're observing becomes less and less probable. Now, the last perspective I can see on the higher time frame here is if we, again, have this wave 3, instead of here, we pivot it to here to force this wave 4 being completed as a B, C flat. This would be a pretty rare flat as well, because here's the origin of A, and here's a termination of A, so we'd have a running flat. pretty rare, but not extremely rare. So, and the other thing here is that this will be a forced impulse, because when you look at the swing structure on the lower time frame here, it's clear of 3 waves. So it's best not to force an impulse until we have significant price action to support that idea. And I don't see it for right now, personally. But again, we have to be aware of everything. So even if we were to place our wave 3 pivot here, again, going back to time and completions, this would pretty much bring us right to 50% of the minor wave 2 as well. So everything here fits. We have structure and time. So this really could be a completed wave 4. The only thing I have doubts is because of this impulse right here, which let's go ahead and take a look at. Just looking at it right now, it's a clear 3 waves. There's really no other way you could say this. That's the first pivot. Here's our second pivot. And there's the third pivot. It's 3 waves. There's no other way that you could look at this, really. Given that, again, it'd be a forced impulse right here. Unless you want to get creative, right? The only thing you can default back to in these times, when you think you have a completed pivot with structure, you could always default back to a diagonal. That's the only way I could really see this being a completed pivot with structure for a wave 4. That's the only way, truthfully. However, regardless, no matter how you're looking at this, either if you're looking at this as a 1, let's see, if you're looking at this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or if you're looking at this as a W, X, Y, again, this ABC internal correction was a little too short in time for me. So given that this is a little too short in time, I expect us to attack this high before attacking this low. Therefore, it's likely that this is protected low until we attack this high. After we attack this high, the chances of attacking this low increase greatly. I still think we get one more low here. Even just looking at the structure right now. This will be a pretty quick Y wave in comparison to that W. So we get a retrace for B, get a push for a C down, right into the golden pockets. Just like that. Then move up. I really think we're attacking this high. That's what I think. Minimum expectations, though, again, is taking that high. Minimum expectations. Then we're looking at this either for a B, for a triangular, zigzag. And again, we're aware, one more time, that we could come and attack this low. Because again, once we attack these highs, attacking this low is extremely valid. After this, it's all about managing expectations. We need to see if there's strength and displacement to go lower. For wave 3. Or if there is lack of strength, lack of displacement, or flat formation, where we move back up, and we have to move this B wave again. So again, game plan is this is a protected low until we attack these two highs. Then the chances of this opening up is greatly exceeded. Then once we attack this low, we need to manage expectations. That's pretty much the game plan here moving forward. Now, as always, if you guys like the content, I would appreciate you liking the video and also consider subscribing if you're not subscribed. If you haven't yet, please feel free to drop by our Discord. Again, I do share a lot of my ideas daily or when asked, and there's a lot of other assets that we go over. I only showcase Bitcoin publicly, but everything else is kept behind the scenes. And I'm almost done my course as well, pretty much explaining exactly how I approach Elliott waves to make it easy. It's really easy for other people to basically just regurgitate the Elliott wave principle, the actual book. But actually explaining and showing and managing expectations is something that's very difficult for an Elliottician in the early years. So again, I'm going to try to bridge that gap to make it easier to understand and an easier approach. So I'm almost done with that. But as always, if you guys enjoyed it, again, please like. And I'll catch you guys next week, unless you want to drop by a Discord. You can discuss Elliott wave with me daily. But hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll catch everybody later.